All right, so let's go through a trade breakdown and its the insights right here as usual. So this time around, we're breaking down rather a trade that we took on Friday, the 19th of April, 2024 on Eurjpy. And the title for this breakdown is How to Utilize the Economic Calendar and SMT to Find the Best Pair or the Best Markets to Trade. So without wasting any time, let's jump onto it. So before anything else, you want to look at what? You want to look at your economic calendar, right? Your economic calendar is your roadmap. And as you can see on Friday, we had what? GBP news coming through at 2 a.m., which potentially presented what? An opportunity for what? London trades, right? Since we have volatility injection at 2 a.m., we might be having markets moving at around that area with a much greater volatility or at a much greater speed, right? So let's do the top-down analysis from the weekly all the way to the 15-minute time frame. And as you can see on the weekly, there's Eurojpy. We have a dealing range from the low all the way to that high. Price comes back into what? Discount of this particular range. So the market has been operating within this range, coming to discount. Where exactly in discount? It's in this weekly fair value gap. So we come into this weekly fair value gap, we push higher. The expectation would be what? The expectation would be for price to expand on the following week. So let's see. We see this particular week that where we was expecting what an expansion phase. It expands away from this imbalance all the way to what? Approaching rather this buy side liquidity pool. So it's from an imbalance to a liquidity pool. Even though we didn't reach this target last week, the expectation would be for the next week to potentially engage with this buy side liquidity pool before we form any other price cycle. Because if you look at 50% of this week, right, we are disrespecting what? The consequent encroachment of the, if you measure it correctly, you see that this body closes slightly above the consequent encroachment of this week. So we are disrespecting this premium array, which is meant to say that we are bound to keep on attacking buy side liquidity and buy side liquidity here. Now let's go to the daily. As you can see, the daily was a little bit too noisy. There's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And we have what? We have Friday's price action right here. Traded lower initially, and then we spiked higher and then approached the previous daily high, forming what? The high of the week on Friday. Now let's go to the 4 hour. The 4 hour, you can see what we have. We have an SMT with GBP JPY right here. As I go to GBP JPY annotations, you'll understand. So with this law and this law, there's an SMT, there's a cracking correlation between the two closely correlated markets, right? Between EJ and GJ, right? GJ forms a lower law than this law, while we have EuroJPY forming what? A higher law than this law. So it's indicating what? It's indicating that EuroJPY is much stronger than what? GBPJPY. Let's go to GJ now so you can see this law and a lower law right here. You see there's the same law that I was referencing on EJ. And let's go to the hourly time frame. The hourly time frame, we had that news release at 2 a.m. And as you can see, this is the midnight opening for Friday right here on this candlestick. We do what? 1 a.m., 2 a.m. What do? We trade into this 1 hour fair value gap, right? And there's another SMT here. There's another cracking correlation here, right? Price as what? Trades all the way to the law of this fair value gap on GJ. So EJ is showing that it's too strong to trade or fill this fair value gap fully, while GJ is doing what? The opposite of that. As you can see, GJ is right here. It trades all the way to the law of that fair value gap. So that's another SMT right there. It's still signaling what? It's still signaling that EuroJPY is much stronger than GBPJPY. So that's how you utilize SMT. And right here you can see how we failed to take out the previous daily high on GJ. We failed to take that buy side liquidity pool, while on EJ we see what we tagged that previous daily high right here, even though we failed to take out that draw on liquidity for the weekly objective. And right here we can see that we had a premium inefficiency. So we trade into that initially before that buy side liquidity pool in a form of the previous daily high. But nonetheless, let's look at the lower time frames now. So there's EuroJPY, a trade into that fair value gap. There's a 15 minutes fair value gap. Don't confuse it for that 1 hour fair value gap that we didn't fill completely. There's a 15 minutes fair value gap upon news release. We tag it. There's what your accumulation manipulation during that news release at 2 a.m. and then we close higher, right? Where are we closing? Above these two consecutive down close candles. What are we forming? We're confirming a formation of an order block. Once we come back into it on this candlestick, that's where we was buying it, right? We bought it right here. Stop loss on that swing low or on the consequent encroachment of this week. Right? You would expect price not to trade all the way to this week, this week's consequent encroachment of 50% of this week, right? And you would expect, since we have changed the state and delivery right here, you would expect down close candles to keep on supporting price higher. And right here we see another SMT on this fair value gap on the 15. GBP JPY trades into its 15 minutes fair value gap, while we have a breakaway gap on Euro JPY. Still validating our idea of what strength on Euro JPY. You want to buy on the strongest asset. You want to buy the strongest asset. You buy on strength. Now let's look at how we were tackling the trade. And there's, as you can see, we had that SMT on that 1 hour fair value gap. That is what is being signaled here. And then our entry upon this order block, we pushed higher. There's a 1:3 risk to reward ratio trade. There's what the previous daily high. So we wasn't trying to take out or trade all the way to that buy side liquidity pool, the main buy side liquidity pool. We was instead targeting what the low hanging fruit. And as you can see, there's what we had delivery all the way to New York session, entry upon what London session. We held all the way, we took partials right here and right there. But as you can see, the trade completed or our objective was met right before right after New York session came into play. And right here are the entries. As you can see, we are entering upon as this trades into the order block. We enter right there and there. There's a 15-minute time frame. First partial taken, second partial on that premium inefficiency. The first partial, by the way, was taken upon after we took out this buy side liquidity pool in the form of this old high, and then another partial taken right on the consequent encroachment of this 4 hour week right here. Right there, and then the last partial was taken, or the last bit of the position was taken off on that buy side liquidity pool on the previous daily high. And with that being said, that is just that. And there were so many opportunities, like I said, across GBP JPY and Euro JPY from Tuesday all the way to Friday. So we already made a trade breakdown of the other trades, but those won't be available on the for public's consumption on the YouTube. So I hope this helps.